the cloud. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining our first MoxieWorks Hour session for 2022. Just wanted to wish everybody a very happy new year. And hopefully everybody had a safe and healthy holiday weekend. And I'm going to see if we can get somebody to get muted. Yeah, if you don't mind, if you can put yourself on mute, that would minimize any of the background noise. Okay, so this is, I think, our 5th or 6th MoxieWorks Hour session. Welcome. As you know, each MoxieWorks session is unique. So hopefully you all are here to hear new and exciting information. We entitled this session, this series, the MoxiPresent Essentials. Okay, so the reason why we call it Essentials is because we feel that this information, at least on the onset, is the most important things that you should know and learn as a foundation so that you can learn the more advanced things that we're going to discuss and incorporate into these MoxieWorks Hour sessions in the future sessions, okay? As some of you know, the MoxieWorks platform is comprised of many moving parts, so to speak. And so our goal here on the MoxieWorks Hours is to help you increase your knowledge and comfort level using the platform. Okay, so welcome you all. And here's our MoxieWorks engagement team. We're made up of Realogy product and MoxieWorks engagement team members. My name is Alex Castro. I'm your co-host today, and I'm joined by Amy Chereau. And Amy, if you'd like to say hello to everybody, I'm sure some of you already know Amy.
Hi, everybody. Be showing my face very soon.
All right. And then we also have Brett on the line as well. I'm not sure if Brett is actually still signing in, but Brett is also our co-host. He's going to be presenting some information on our products, and also Debbie Williams. She's also our team member. And then each of us are going to be fielding questions in the chat window. So initially, just kind of some housekeeping items. Initially, we're going to try to keep everybody on mute, right? So that we can get through all the content that we have scheduled for this call today. As we go, we encourage you to ask any and all of your questions regarding the process, regarding the product, tips, things like that on anything that we cover. Put those in chat. Or alternatively, you can unmute yourself at the end of the call. We're going to reserve the last 5-10 minutes so that you can ask your question live. I'm sure some of you, that's why you're here, right? Is for that live element where you can ask your question live with one of our team members. Okay, this session is being recorded. So rest assured, all of you on this call and all of your colleagues who may have registered are going to receive a recording link with everything on the call, as well as any, let's say, cheat sheets or quick reference guides, I should call it, and links, things like that, and links to future sessions so that you all are kept abreast with any information that is shared within this call. Okay, so we still do encourage you to take some notes, right? You don't need to take copious notes because you are going to get the recording link. But also you want to let your fellow colleagues at your offices to, tune in live if they would, and also register at the very minimum so that they can get a copy of the recording link. All right, and then keep in mind, this is being recorded. So anything that you type in chat is also going to be recorded. Okay, so it's made part of the recording. So just keep that in mind. Our agenda for today, we're going to be talking about quickly, right? Supporting your MoxieWorks journey. We're going to have a quick tip that a lot of you, right? You guys, some of you just want, okay, show me something that's quick and easy that I can implement now. We're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about kind of a deeper dive into the MoxieWorks platform, and Brett's going to take charge of that. And then also maybe a group discussion, and then questions and answers. Any questions that you have on any topic that we covered today. And keep in mind, right, just kind of another housekeeping item. We don't intend and want to spend time on making this a support session or a troubleshooting type hour, okay? We want to show you strategic uses, the tips and tricks and features and benefits of the MoxieWorks platform. We do want to make sure that you all get the support you need. And so why does this all matter, right? We're going to provide recommendations on how you can build greater success with MoxieWorks, the platform, how you can incorporate it and build it into your best practice with your particular real estate practice. In future calls, we're going to invite experts in the field so that they can share their perspective, their approach on using the MoxieWorks platform. And then, of course, we're going to educate you on all the tools and resources for support. And speaking of support, here is the key that you all want to partake in: support.moxieworks.com. If you haven't visited that yet, you need to, after this call, hopefully don't take time during this call, but right, if you do, open up a new browser window, support.moxieworks.com. That is where you submit your ticket if you have an issue, okay? One stop, support.moxieworks.com. If you have an issue, don't just say, oh, this doesn't work, and just kind of, put it aside. Log that call, get that support ticket, keep that support ticket so that if we need to escalate, we have that number, okay? And then also for in-product assistance, right? There's an Autobot where you can go at the bottom of every MoxieWorks page. It's got a help button at the very bottom. I think it's in red, so that you could click on that and you could type in your topic or question that you have. And then there's automated resources that try to answer your questions, okay? Before we continue, I just wanted to cover really quick the MoxieWorks suite. Hopefully everybody on this call is familiar with MoxiPresent, Moxie Impress. That's known as the marketing pact. I just want to go through this quickly because some of you this might be your first MoxieWorks hour. Okay, MoxiPresent, right? That ultra versatile real estate presentation builder. If you haven't used it, you want to make sure that you get comfortable with this particular part of the MoxieWorks platform. Okay, you can see there's 5 different pieces of the entire MoxieWorks suite. Moxie Impress, right? For those of you who have had a listing, right? Especially since you've launched, hopefully you taken advantage of Moxie Impress, where it creates all these deliverables, these links, these flyers, right? All these printable documentation or postcards, things like that, all automatically with Moxie Impress. What's coming up at your office? The Productivity Pact, right? Which includes, right, the Moxie websites. Easy to use, very powerful from a agent perspective, team's perspective, your office, your entire company. Moxie websites, Moxie Engage, that is the CRM, right? That customer relationship management tool that is so robust. It is a huge undertaking. So what I'm trying to get at is you want to get familiar with the other pieces of the MoxieWorks suite so that when Moxie Engage, when you get your hands on Moxie Engage, it's not everything all at once. Make sense? Moxie Talent, for those of you who are leadership team, the recruiters, the managers, broker owners, Moxie Talent is for you. So if you're agent, producing agent, you're not one of those that I just mentioned, Moxie Talent doesn't concern you. All right, so I just want to quickly share with all of you a MoxiPresent buyer tour testimonial. I'm going to read it to you because this is just hot off the presses. I just wanted to share what some of you, if you haven't used MoxiPresent, what some of you may be missing. Okay, so I'm just going to read it really quickly because I think it's very, very compelling. Okay, so this morning, this is from one of our brokers or affiliates, right? This morning, I received a direct referral from an agent in Jupiter, Florida. The buyer texted me, but did not want to set up a meeting with, right? They didn't want to meet with me. They just wanted to drive around, right? and get the lay of the land before popping into the office, right? That's code. A lot of you know that was code for we don't want to be stuck meeting with you if we don't like this area. So here's what I did, right? The person who has been trained on MoxiWorks. I told him if he gave me an idea of what he was looking for, I would send him a suggested route, right? Adding value. He gave me his criteria and sent him a MoxiWorks or MoxiPresent buyer tour. Here's the email I just received from him. Okay, this is the agent who just sent this out. The map is fantastic. I can't thank you enough. You made it so easy for us to get started. I hope to meet you in person and to thank you properly. All right. Things like this, right? That value add, just going that one step further. The buyer initially basically said, not interested, but you have MoxiPresent buyer tour to hopefully, right, add that value and make that deposit into that prospective buyer. Okay. Any questions on that? Please put in chat. And then before we continue, I'm going to go into this and then I'm going to get Brett and Amy to also share some of their knowledge on MoxiPresent. But before we continue, I just have a quick poll that I just wanted to launch. We just want to get a better feel for our audience today. This is our opening poll, and this is strictly anonymous. So we don't know who answers what. Okay, so first question, there's 3 questions on an opening poll. We're going to have a closing poll as well. How many MoxiWorks presentations, right? CMAs, buyer tours, listing presentations have you created so far? Okay, anonymous, pick one. We just want to know who we're talking to. Okay, so is it 0? Is it 1 to 9? Is it 10 plus? No, because we haven't received training yet. Or I'm having issues. If you're having issues, type it in chat. What's going on? Maybe you have a ticket number. Maybe we can escalate that. Okay, but if you haven't submitted that for a ticket, that's what you want to do, right? Support.moxiworks.com. That's the first step. If you haven't done so already, just want to make sure, because we want everybody to be a happy camper when it comes to MoxiWorks. Okay, second question. How many MoxiWorks hours have you attended? So we just want to make sure that we understand who our audience is. Okay, so we have some that attended all of them, which is great. Majority of you, this is your first one. Welcome. And so that's why we want to make sure that we kind of cover and review a few things so that everybody is kind of level set and brought up to speed. Okay, so thank you for, welcome to your first MoxiWorks hour. Okay, and the third question, how many times have you used Moxie Impress, right? The social media links, flyers, emails, postcards, etc. We just want to make sure, right? Are people using it? Right? Okay, and there's a number of reasons why you may have an issue, right? And I haven't had any listings, so I haven't used it. Or I think I missed one response, possible responses. I'm so busy, it sells, my listing sells before I even have a chance to do any marketing. Okay, and I just want to quickly address that, even if that is the case, right? If the listings are flying and selling, right, like hotcakes, why not still leverage the deliverables that you get from Moxie Impress so that you can plant those seeds with your prospective sellers for that next time when they are ready to sell. Make sense? Going once, going twice. We're just going to take one quick second and everybody, all right. So we have over 70% participated. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll so that we can continue with our session. So end this poll. I'm going to share the results. And thank you all for participating. I'm going to take a quick picture because it's a lot easier to keep track of the data rather than the Zoom's way of presenting the data in an Excel spreadsheet, which is kind of cryptic to understand. Thank you all for participating, and just kind of quickly go over this. So how many times have you used Moxie Impress? So almost half. You haven't used it. You haven't leveraged it. Hopefully you want to take a look into Moxie Impress because it's automatic, right? When you get a listing, it's automatically created, all those things. And you want to look into it, right? Automatic. All you have to do is kind of distribute it, print it, send it, share it. Okay. We went over this, how many MoxieWorks hours have you attended? So more than half. This is your first one. And we welcome you. We're happy to have you. And hopefully you all are going to participate in future calls. And then how many MoxieWorks presentations, right? MoxiePresent presentations have you created? Okay, so a lot of you kind of still scratching the surface. We got more people with 10 or more. Okay, and then some of you, none, you haven't received training yet. And then hopefully that's right around the corner for some of you. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing, and then I'm gonna let Brett and Amy take over and with a quick tip. And let me see, do I need to make Brett a
So I'm going to be doing the quick tip.
okay.
And Brett's going to do the 15. I'm trying to get my camera to start. Hopefully there it goes.
Yeah, and I think you're going to continue to share the slides.
Yep.
Or,
Yeah,
yep.
we'll let you do that. And I'll just, so Brett, you're good. I'll just do the quick tips and then you're going to go into the 15-minute, correct?
Beautiful. Yep.
So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year. As you know, we have a series of MoxieWorks hours for Present and Impress. And we have 2 more sessions of that. We are feverishly working, just so you know, on a whole series for the Engage, which is the CRM. Those will be launching in another month or so. Many of you are going to start getting the productivity pack. But right now we're focused on Present and Impress. And as you know, we have a topic each week. This week, it is taking the show on the road. So for those of you who like some quick tips, I'm going to just show you 2 slides with some things that I want you to just make sure you're doing, which will make what Brett's going to show you even more useful. If you need to be reminded of all the topics we're covering, we will send that in the email that we send out. So if you've missed any of the sessions, we will be repeating these every month so you can come back. So if you could go to the next slide, that would be great. So what is the quick tip this week? Well, it's all about taking the show on the road and have you leveraged mobile, a great opportunity because MoxieWorks Present does it so well. If you could go to the next slide, I love the phone there. So 2 things. Practice, practice, practice. Whenever you're doing something mobile, whether you're presenting on your laptop or a tablet, or you're facilitating MoxieWorks Present on your phone or your tablet or your laptop to send things to people, you want to make sure that you have all the tools set up. One of the things we highly recommend for some of our presentations that you'll be sending out is using a shortened URL tool like bit.ly.com. And by the way, it is bit.ly. There is no dot between bit and ly. Sorry for that typo. So if you haven't set up a free account with bit.ly.com, Brett, could you type it in correctly in the chat for me?
Already done.
Thank you, sir. What's beautiful about bit.ly is that you can personalize, even if you have a free account, your URL. So for example, I am an active realtor in Connecticut. If I send things to people and I want to just give them a shortened URL, I go and create a link on MoxieWorks. I take the big long link, I copy it, I go to bit.ly.com, I paste it. They give me something like bit.ly/UMQ434. That's not that bad, actually. So we can still use those. But if you're creating something that is evergreen, so for example, where I live in Connecticut, I have a presentation on some of the coffee shops. That's one of the recent ones I created, coffee shops in central Connecticut. That's something that I can send to people over and over. Once I created that presentation, I copied the big long URL. I went to bit.ly, I put it in, and guess what? I was able to edit the ending. So what is it? It's CT coffee or something like that. So now I have that saved. So as I meet new clients and I find out they're avid coffee drinkers like me, I go, let me send you something I think you'll really enjoy. And I just go and send it to a text. I put the bit.ly CT coffee. So things that are evergreen that you're going to use over and over. Think about creating a list of shortened URLs. Now, what I do is I use a product called Evernote. It's a note tool on my phone. And I have a list with all my shortened URLs for all the things I've created in MoxiPresent that are relevant to buying and selling real estate in Central Connecticut, where I am. Hopefully that helps. And if you have done any really cool things with shortened URLs, there's other systems. Bit.ly is just the one I use. Google has them. But if you're doing any cool things with Bit.lys, if you could, in the chat box, share with the rest of us on the call, I would love to learn today as well. Number 2, have a template email or text for your clients so they know you're sending information over to review. Again, I have that in my Evernote because that's on my phone. I have an email and I have a text that I just go in, I copy and I paste in my email and I send them. I can send them the information I'm sending. It's branded, it's got my signature, it looks beautiful, and I don't have to worry about using my fingers or try to type something brand new. And I never do it while I'm driving, but I always have something that's consistent and looks good. Think about that. And you don't have to use Evernote. You could be using notes on your phone. There's great note tools, but think about things that you use over and over. I'll give you another tip. All of the hashtags that I use on my Instagram posts, I have 2 sets of hashtags that I use over and over. They're on an Evernote note too. And when I'm doing an Instagram post, I put my post, I go and copy my hashtags and I paste them in. It makes life so easy. Are you using products like Zoom or Teams or things like that to do presentations with your clients, or even FaceTime? If you're using tools like that, make sure you're really comfortable, because it's weird. A client, a potential client or an existing client, if you fumble with technology, all of a sudden you're inept as a realtor. It's crazy. So if you're not good with this stuff, have someone be a technician on the call. If you need to do a presentation virtually, like a listing presentation, or if you're meeting with your buyers to get them signed in as your buyer representative, which I have done many times, it works great. If you're not comfortable with it, get somebody to help you. Get an admin, get a someone, maybe an intern, get someone to help you. It is the first time people are going to meet you, even though it's virtual, and you have to be good at it. Hopefully there are helpful tips for you. Next slide, Alex, if you don't mind. And then we'll look for questions. And Brett, if you're seeing questions, you can answer when I'm done. Next, and this is prepping us for what Brett's going to talk to you about. But if you have not created a buyer presentation to send out after open houses, and you know what, we were doing open houses, but now with the Omicron that's just come back, it looks like everything's shutting down again for January until we get through this. So you can do it virtually. You don't have to, you could do an open house. You can do an open house on Zoom. You could do that, and then you could do a follow-up. Create a template buyer presentation that you will send out after someone comes to your open house, and then you can tweak it for each listing. This has been phenomenal because people do drop by, and what do? We wait for the open house to close. We take people's emails, even the crazy ones who bounce back, and we say, thank you for visiting the house. Here's more information on the house. This is a great opportunity for you. Create a buyer presentation in MoxiPresent. Make sure you have testimonials in there, information about living, working, playing in the area where you work, how to buy a home today. There's so many things, we forget that people don't understand this. And each of your brands, I've looked at every one of your brands, Realogy, each brand has done a great job giving you these materials. And if they're in PDF form right now, if you have them as PDFs, you can put them into your buyer presentation. You can add a PDF right into your buyer presentation. Now, The details on how to do all this stuff is actually in our session doing a buyer presentation. We have the recording. We can get those to you if you haven't been to that, or we'll be repeating that in the next couple of weeks again. So make sure you attend. Also, then add specifics on that home. People love this kind of information, and it's so professionally put together. You're going to shine, and it really adds to the value prop of who you are as an agent. So I'm done. I'm going to turn everything over to Brett. Brett, are there any questions that you want to just bring to the top before I hand things over to you?
Yeah, so I went ahead and answered a whole bunch while you were talking.
Okay, good.
One question just came up regarding Real Satisfied. If you haven't been to the MoxieWorks website, we actually talked to, we already have dozens and dozens of partners, and we're consistently talking to partners every single day. I can't say for certain that Real Satisfied is a company we're talking to, but we do continue to talk to partners. So if they're not a partner now, I wouldn't be surprised to see them become a partner as the year goes on. Other than that, we had a few other questions I think we pretty much handled. So in the chat, one question that came up that I do want to mention, and one thing I love that you were talking about with the using the Bitly is, in case they didn't follow what you meant by URL, you can actually create the custom URLs in Bitly. So it's like bit.ly/Charu's coffee picks or something like that. So that way you're able to make it, better. Obviously, if it's a really simple, like listing presentation, you probably can't get that one, but there's lots of options. And there was a couple of different people chiming in that you can use Notepad for that, or you can actually create a contact in your phone that have all those links. So I was really happy that you mentioned that.
I love it. I remember only evergreen content. Don't create Bitly's for a buyer presentation for a specific house. Use the long link for that. You don't need to. Only do that for evergreen. And boy, you're gonna be so excited as you become this expert on the road realtor if you're not already doing it. Some of us have been in business for many years and we're still learning new tricks. So over to you, Brett. I can't wait to see what you're going to talk about.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Brett Calthorpe here. I'm Director of Agent Engagement for MoxiWorks. And today we are going to talk about taking the show on the road. So obviously, in this day and age, it's the rare realtor that's sitting at a desk all day in a real estate office, brick and mortar, hanging out, waiting for those folks to walk in. You're constantly out there on the road doing business. And so that's what we want to talk about today, is really kind of some of this I've covered in previous sessions, but we want to really tie it all together to talk about how you can really use this suite of products, particularly MoxiPresent, to enable you to do business the way that you're used to doing business, which is on the run, in your car, in a coffee shop, etc. So if you don't mind going on to the next slide there, please, Alex. So when we talk about being on the road with MoxiPresent, this is a phrase I use a lot. One of the things that drew me to MoxiWorks before I started working here was I love the ability to turn presentations into consultations. I always, and I know Amy and I talk about this a lot, is one of the things that we wish the session could be was more interactive, right? Because we love having those conversations. And, back in the day, a listing presentation would be somebody coming in, reading PowerPoint slides to you, telling you how great they are, and then saying, okay, well, don't you want to list with me? That's not how people want to do business, right? So by having an interactive product that's always live, that's always up to date, you have the ability to really walk them through, add a lot more value on each step, so that when you're done talking to them, they can not only say, okay, well, yeah, that was a great presentation, but also the conversation that went along with it really makes me feel comfortable with listing my house with this person. So we also talk about the ability to change presentations on the fly. I don't care what market in the US you're in right now, and I've got friends all over the place, and I just keep hearing I'm slammed, it's so busy, the market's so hot, etc. So it's really important to be able to have the most up-to-date information, because the last thing you want to do is send somebody a list of properties, they take a look at it the next day, get back to you the next day, and then it's, oh, well, sorry, 4 out of 5 of those have sold, right? And then the last thing I want to talk about, and we'll go through all these as we go through, is multiple seller net sheets, right? And buyer tours. So For buyer tours, we want to again talk about how to up your game from just printing out customer multi-photo printouts from the MLS and saying 1, 2, 3, 4, let's go. We give you lots of ability to not only show off the properties you can go look at with whatever information you want in there, but you can add lots of rich media and great content to it, and then obviously seller net sheets. So let's go ahead and hop over to the next slide and talk about why mobile is so important. And I know that you guys understand this, but as a society, we live on our phone these days. Brad Inman always says it's the remote control for our lives. There's a reason why we don't have an app. The reason being is because we found a long time ago that if we just developed the software to work on a mobile basis, on a tablet, on a desktop, you name it, we're able to put our resources into what matters instead of constantly updating an app. Plus, I think people have a little bit of app fatigue, right? How many apps have you downloaded that are buried on page 5 of your iPhone screen? So we want to make it easy for you. The reason why it's so important to have mobile functionality, and you can see this is a study by Proficient that took a look, and in 2019, we saw 57% of the web traffic was being conducted over the phone. Now it's all the way up to 61%. And when you take a look at the 36 and the 3%, desktops were actually about 35.7% in 2020, with tablets being about 3.3. So between a tablet and your iPhone or your smartphone, you're looking at 65% of all web traffic. So it really is important that you have that mobile functionality. Let's go ahead and pop over to the next slide. So again, we create software that is device agnostic, that's going to look great on whatever you're looking to do. And I love this. One of the issues I always had, when I was running brokerages is, how do you walk into somebody's listing for the first time, trying to get a listing, and you've got a piece of paper with a printed number on it that says this is what I think we should list for, when you've never been inside the house, right? So I think being able to come in pre-prepared with the starting point and having your information ready, but then you can sit down with that client and walk them through the presentation, make those edits and adjustments. I think they're going to have a lot more faith in the number that you come up with together. Plus, you're able to ask those great questions, right? What's the most traditional question we ask on a listing appointment? What made you want to buy this house, right? Because for a lot of buyers, the next buyer, that same thing may be why they buy that house. So, I mean, you can take good established real estate coaching that you've had and the things that we know work, and really push it up to another level, right? So let's go ahead and pop over to the next slide. And I want to talk about a seller consultation. So when we're talking about making that interactive seller consultation, again, we have the up-to-date MLS information. We want to be able to make changes to the presentation, and that can include adding or removing the listing while we're sitting there. So here's an example you can see that we've created for the seller consultation. You can see about halfway down, we've previously, before being there, have made an adjustment to that property. So again, in MoxiPresent, you can add pricing adjustments up or down and then decide what that reason may be. And you can see that we've made that adjustment there. But you know what? Maybe we're talking to them and we're deciding, yeah, it really is kind of apples to oranges. Why don't we just take that one out? If we go to the next slide, you can see that all we have to do is hit that button all the way over on the right, and you'll get this pop-up that says, hey, do you want to remove this listing? So we're going to go ahead and hit remove and hit that listing and take it out. Next slide. And once we've done that, you can see that here's our new set of listings, and all that listing information, that summary data over on the right, that all recalculates on the fly. Conversely, if we decided to add another property, it would do the same thing. It would change all of the math within the consultation. The third thing, which I'll actually mention too, is that you have an ability to enter in your own comp. So if you have a property that's maybe coming on the market, but not quite there, you have a off-market listing, if your market still allows that sort of thing, new construction that might not be in the MLS, you can come in and create custom comps, both in our seller and our buyer presentations, which I think is a really powerful way to make sure that you're able to use this. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide there, please, Alex. So let's talk about that pricing discussion. This I really love, because when you first create that seller presentation, you can see that pricing stats on the left. You're going to have two numbers that are calculated automatically within the system. Number one is the price based on average sales, which is simply that. It's the average price of the sold comps in your presentation. It will also figure out price based on square footage, where it's giving you the complete breakdown of how they come up with that. Now, you can see that it comes for the range, and the averages are 997 and 990. But if you take a look at our actual list, you can see that we have a pricing range in this example of almost 100%, actually over 100%. So you've got a low of 745 all the way up to 1.475 million. So usually you won't have this sort of a discrepancy, right? So when you have this estimated pricing, it can create an automatic number. But then on this one, I would say, okay, well, for the actual house we're looking at, I'm going to make an adjustment. And so you can see that there's the estimated market value. We can either show a single number there, or we can adjust the range. And in this example, we went ahead and adjusted the range. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So here's exactly how that looks, which we would have done that. So all you have to do is you have your estimated market value price calculated at 745. If we decided we wanted a 1% range, well, all we have to do is put 1 in and hit that calculate button, and you can see it automatically does the math for us. Or if you'd like to, you can actually create your own custom range. So, you know, in this example, they just put in the same number for both, but this could be, it's really more like a 745 to 752.5, something like that. So you have an option to either use the computer generated range, or go ahead and put in your manual entry. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So here's our net sheet. So this is one of my favorite features about being able to have a realistic pricing discussion, because obviously this is one of the most, if not the most important discussion you're going to have with that client. Now, sometimes you're going to walk in there and you're going to know everything you need to know about that house. You're going to know, obviously, your listing office, your listing and seller brokerage fees. You're going to know probably ahead of time settlement costs, typically your typical settlement costs. So if you live in a state where you're dealing with transfer excise taxes, assessments, are there currently any assessments on the property, closing costs. You might already have an estimate on some of these. Sometimes you might not, though. So what I suggest, and what this allows you to do, is create an initial net proceeds based on just the information that you know. So let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So we might walk in there and, okay, look, we know what our listing fees are. We know what our typical escrow fee is, title insurance, prorated property tax. We can calculate all that. The HOA fee, we might know ahead of time. We suggest a home warranty policy. But what do we not see on there? The mortgage, right? We might not, in this example, we don't know what their mortgage situation looks like. Do they have one mortgage? Do they have two mortgages? We have no idea. Are there any assessments on the property that they may owe if they're in a condo association or something of that nature? Also, we may not know repairs. If we haven't walked through the house, we don't know. Is this something that we can negotiate our way out of, or if it's like, hey, we're going to have to really account for this before we sell it? So we've saved here to go ahead and I'll come to your questions at the end, guys. This is our initial net proceeds. Let's go to the next slide. And you can see where now we've got more information. I now know what their first mortgage is. I've done something that your broker probably won't want you to do, which is I've reduced my listing commission, saying, hey, we'll give 3% to the buyer. We've gone ahead and added in a fixed, a door fixed. Perhaps there's a garage door issue that we just know we can't sell it, or it's going to, it's really going to make a problem for us. Well, let's just go ahead and say that we can go ahead and do $1,200 and use that for the door fix, right, et cetera. So you have an opportunity to create an initial net proceeds, and then you can create as many other net proceeds sheets as you would like. And we'll talk about where I'll answer that question at the end. So, but let's go ahead and keep going, if you don't mind, Alex. So let's talk about buyer tour. You guys hopefully saw our session on buyer tours. Again, one of the things we love is we know that this information literally is changing minute by minute. So you're again able to add or remove properties based on what you're doing. You're able to reorder. So you can see here, lovely Seattle. Our initial order has me driving all over the dang place. So you can actually reorder the for properties so we can figure out the best way to take a look at those. Don't forget that we do have that INRIX drive time data. So if there perhaps in this example, let's pretend that I work down at Pioneer Square, which is where you see the word Seattle. Well, I would probably go 1 and then take number 3 as number 2, head over and say, okay, well, here's the area around where you work. And then I'd probably take them over to Medina, which is number 2 as my last property, because it's going to be the most difficult property in terms of getting to work on time, right? But that could be up to you. And again, you can see in the top right that ability to add a custom listing. So let's go ahead and move forward here. And again, you can do all of these things on your cell phone, on your mobile, tablet, whatever it might be. So here's some good tips. Practice, 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 practice. Just like when you were a newbie agent and learning how to do searches in the MLS, the best thing you can do is just go in and create buyer tours or create a seller presentation. Just get used to how to use it. Now, personally, I think that it's very intuitive. I think if you've used the MLS to do a search or to prepare a CMA, it shouldn't be that high of a learning curve to learn. I think it's very, very similar. But the more you get used to using the program, particularly once you create them, then saying, okay, well, how do I change things? How do I get used to, how do I add a property? How do I remove a property, et cetera? Because as Amy mentioned, you want to come off as very confident when it comes to the technology, particularly with your main arsenal of tools that you're using to show folks different properties. So another best practice tip is keep in mind that you're probably going to have relocation or out of town clients coming through. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we have a presentation coming up in a few weeks called My Hometown. And in that, I'm going to talk about, how do you create wonderful collateral that you can use to really show your market knowledge beyond just the stats, beyond just the listings, right? So having the ability to say, oh, you're looking at coming over and you're moving from Fayetteville to, Sarasota, Florida. Well, look, here's our beautiful Siesta Key, and here's our beaches, and here's a little presentation I did on the art scene for Sarasota, whatever it may be. So having that stuff ready and being able to show those, I think, is super powerful. And you can, of course, being digital, you can use rich media like videos, et cetera. We mentioned the NRIX drive time. And then the last thing I'll mention on the buyer tour, again, one of the great advantages is that your clients can have it on their phone as they're walking through the property, and they can go in and make their notes and say, oh, I liked this, I didn't like this, and then they can give it a rating from 1 star till 5 star. All of this is MoxiPresent, right? It's so popular that even my German Shepherd is screaming and barking in the background about how much he loves it. So yes, we've done some training on these adjustments, Amy. Actually, we did when we did our buyer tour session, as well as our CMA session. In both of those, we show how to make adjustments. So definitely refer back to some of the other trainings, or of course, we're going to be repeating them as we go forward. Let's go ahead and hop to the next slide, if you don't mind, Alex. All right, any questions? I'm going to take a look at the chat and scroll back here and take a look and see what we've got here. George asked if there will be a recorded copy of this. Alex, you want to take that one?
Yes, everybody who registers for this MoxieWorks hours, as well as any session that we have in the future, will receive a recording link, which includes the entire session, the audio, the chat conversations, as well as the slides. Okay, so included with that email, that follow-up email, which is usually sent out maybe the next day, we're going to include links to certain topics that we discuss, reference guides, some quick reference guides, maybe included as a PDF file. So rest assured that you will have the recording to this particular session.
And Allison, to your question, is this platform something we pay for? It is included in your franchise fees. So one of the things that I really like about Moxie, and especially this arrangement we do, we aren't a company that does the freemium model where we're going to give you 20% of our product for free and then say, well, if you want it to actually work, you have to pay for this and this and this and this. Moxie is you're getting the full featured MoxiWorks suite from the brand, and you don't have to pay anything. So that's included in your franchise fees.
Yes, excellent. And now let me answer Jennifer's question, and also Amy, I'm going to have you kind of elaborate as well. But Jennifer's question, if we miss previous trainings, like let's say previous MoxieWorks hours, in the follow-up emails of, let's say, this session, I have in the past included the previous recordings as well, right? So if you just, like majority of you on this call, you are first timers, right? So, oh my gosh, I missed like 5 MoxieWorks hours already. I included the links to the recordings to those, let's say, previous 5 sessions, so that you can kind of catch up in time, okay? And then Amy, if you'd like to mention about the different cohorts in terms of what's available on their brand portals, that'd be great too.
Sure. Hi, everybody. We are working on, and we'll let you all know when they're ready, we're creating 2 cohorts on your universities. One is for all the MoxieWorks hours. You're going to be able to get the recordings, handouts, they'll all be there. We're also creating a product champion cohort. And the product champion cohort will have all of the materials for those of you who have taken on that great role. There also will be what we're calling 15 minutes of MoxieWorks. There's going to be 15-minute recordings and slide decks with talk track on all of these topics that you're hearing us speak here, because we figured you all might want to just teach it locally. So you either, there'll be different recordings than what you're seeing here today. We're going into the studio and recording them professionally. We're actually doing that this afternoon. So you'll have recordings that will be branded toward your brand, which is awesome. And those will be available by the end of the month. And you can use those for your office meetings. And if you love to train yourself, we also have there a slide deck for you with talk track. And remember, if you're a trainer, you already know this. You read through someone else's slide deck 2 to 3 times and you will own the content beautifully. That's it, Alex, unless I missed anything.
No, thank you, Amy. Really appreciate it. I mean, the material that is scheduled to be available to all our affiliates it's amazing, right? I mean, as you can imagine, there's a lot of content that we have to share. There's a lot of moving parts within the MoxieWorks platform. So resources, guides, sessions, that is what our engagement team is focused on. Other questions?
To Stacy's question, where is it located? Well, when you go to MoxiPresent and click on Create Presentation, you're going to see different options. One is a seller presentation, one is a buyer presentation, one is a non-listing presentation, which is what you could use for everything else. So it's basically the equivalent of the Jeopardy potpourri category. You can create whatever you like in there. And then there's also a buyer tour option. So that's where you would find that.
Yeah, for those of you who have general questions on where this information is, what Amy was talking about, those are going to be available on your brand portals, right? Your brand universities. So that you should be able to navigate to those particular sections of your online portal.
Well, and I also want to mention one of the advantages of coupling up with its company that's been together or been around for 10 years is we have a lot of people think support.moxieworks.com. Well, that's only where I go where I'm having problems. Well, actually, if you go to support.moxieworks.com, there's dozens of videos covering all of our different products with how-to videos, hot tips. There's blog content, etc. So there's quite, even if you don't have access to the product yet, let's say you're in a group that I don't have engaged yet, you can today go to support.moxieworks.com and watch a ton of little videos on Engage to get a feel of how do you do things in the product, etc. So in addition to everything that's been created in the brand portals, there's also MoxieWorks assets that you have, you're able to pull up as well. So there's a lot of different places to go for information on how to do these things.
Yeah, to elaborate on what Brett just mentioned, support.moxieworks.com, lots of information there for those of you maybe in a leadership role that want to, I guess, get a little bit more information before it's rolled out to your agents and to your office. Support.moxieworks.com, you can see what the screens look like. Additionally, the emails that is going to include the recording link I also add links to specific parts of support.moxieworks.com that includes a section on MoxiPresent or Moxie Impress. So there's a little bit of information there to hopefully pique your interest to open up that email, because I put, right, it's just in bullet format, all the quick links that, oh, okay, yeah, I need that information. Click, and then you're in Moxie, support.moxieworks.com, specifically in the MoxiPresent section. Okay, so check out those emails that you're going to be receiving probably tomorrow. Other questions? Debbie, did we miss anything in chat? Or Amy, is there anything that we like to add that me want to elaborate on?
Last thing is, if anyone wants to see a list of the topics we've already done, we'll make sure we send it in the email when we send the recording of topics.
As we're waiting for additional questions, here is a list of all the scheduled MoxieWorks hours for this quarter, right, for 2022. So you can register. The link, Debbie, if you can put that link in chat. If you're not able to click on the link in the chat window, we're going to include that in the follow-up email as well as that recording. But that one link, you're able to register for multiple sessions at once, right? Remember, each session is different, right? We're not even close to recycling what we've covered in the first 5 or 6 sessions, because there's so much content, there's so much information that we want to share with you, that here's a list so far of what we have coming up.
Also, Alex, so this is great. As I mentioned, these will be the topics that will be recorded as 15-minute opportunities to run in the offices, because we have to spread the word. I would say, Brett, if you could just explain what my hometown is. I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. That would be good.
Sure. So for my hometown, we talk about ways that you can use MoxiPresent to really show off your area expertise. We talk about things like having a custom YouTube page and how you can go out and create programming to highlight, here's the best areas to look at. Oh, here's this housing development, et cetera. And what's wonderful is it's really simple with today's phones that you can create some video content that you can share, et cetera. There's also the ability to do one thing that Amy kind of mentioned, which is like, here's a list of my favorite coffee shops, or here's my list of the best schools in the area, or here's your getting started with moving here, a relocation guide. So we're going to talk about lots of different ways that you can use MoxiPresent so that you really do appear to be that area expert that we know you are.
Excellent. And just wanted to make sure Greg has an answer or response to his question. Where can I find out features in Moxie Engage? Again, support.moxieworks.com. You will find screenshots. You'll find kind of steps and how it works and hot tips and things like that. So that if you are determining whether or not to continue with the CRM that you are currently using, or want to move forward with the Moxie Engage, that's where you can find a lot of information. If you need more, right? Just you want to ask your brand representative or email our product marketing team for more information. But support.moxieworks.com, I've probably said it 10 times already, so you can realize or see how important that is in terms of resource for you all. Yep. Having trouble signing into support.moxieworks.com, you should be able to just open up a web browser, support.moxieworks.com. It should open up right up. Hopefully everybody's able to do that. You can do that now.
You don't actually have to sign into it. It's a
it just opens up. Other questions? Any last minute tips there, Brett?
No, I would say, again, practice. That's the biggest thing and I think if you're coming at this from being a marketing person or a product champion, think about ways that you can use MoxiPresent in your daily life, right? Using it for corporate communications, using it for, market updates, or, hey, here's our shout out for our top 5 listings that were sold this week, whatever. The more that you can use it and show off how cool it is, the more your agents will use it too.
Yeah, and I just wanted to maybe if I take a couple minutes, because since we have a few more minutes and if while we wait for additional questions, just kind of elaborate what Brett talked about. Okay, so he had talked about the on the fly adjustments, right? When you're doing a seller presentation or a seller net sheet. How cool would it be, right? If you're doing that, collaborating with that prospective seller, sitting right next to them in their living room, right, with your app or with your tablet or with your laptop and making those changes so that they're helping determine that listing price, right? Similarly, as that testimonial, as I shared earlier, right, we had one of our affiliates already raving about that buyer tour of MoxiPresent, right? If you're doing open houses or if you are working with buyers, why not say, hey, what are you really looking for? And create that driving route for them. Okay. Try to add that value or, that show them your value proposition to those buyers that you're working with. Okay. So just want to put that out there so that, right, as Brett says, practice, 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 as Avi said, practice, 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 put these into action, right? And just one last comment regarding the Moxie Impress. I know we didn't talk about that much today. It was mostly Moxie Present, but Moxie Impress, for those of you who have listings, who have had a listing, right? You want to make sure that you leverage those social media links, those printable flyers, those posts, those postcards. Because yes, your listing may have sold in an hour or two, but why not send that information out so that the prospective sellers, oh my gosh, Brett's going to do that for my property if we list with him? Makes sense. So just want to make sure, right, that you're leveraging the technology because it's automatically created for you in Moxie Impress. Automatically, right? But it doesn't automatically send everything out. Okay, so just want to make sure. And those of you who are in leadership positions, right, the managers, broker owners on this call, right, you want to help your agents to leverage what they have, right? And as we said, right, this is included with being an agent at your office. Other comments from our hosts, our co-hosts, Debbie, Dean, Amy, Brett?
Hey, Alex, it's Dean. I was just noticing a couple of questions regarding the brand portal training. And Bob had asked a question about that. I know Amy responded. Those are great self-paced trainings in the brand portals where you have the opportunity to stop, execute some certain things within the platform, and then keep going. So the self-paced training in the brand portals is also a great way to get the basics of each of the products you're interested in learning.
Very good. Thank you, Dean. And then also that brings up another point, right? So those of you, I know some of you are this first timer on Moxie Works Hours. For those of you who haven't had your Moxie Present or Moxie Impress training, you want to go to your manager, right? Go to your broker owner and ask, hey, did I miss our launch training for Moxie Impress, Moxie Present? Because they should have a link, and the leadership people on this call, you should keep that link so that when people right come on board with your office or have missed the training or need a refresher, you have that link to share with them, right? Moxie Present, Moxie Impress. All right, so just kind of a quick tip for those of you who maybe missed your initial launch training. Other comments from our team? So if there's no other questions, we want to thank you all for participating in our call. Remember, tune in 2 weeks, Thursday, January 20th. Same Moxie channel, same Moxie time, right? Different topic, right? It's on Moxie Present, but it's my value proposition. Okay, different topic altogether, but the same registration link. So Hector, if we don't have access to website yet, are we limited to what we do? Yeah, well, that's forthcoming, right? Some of you, most of you probably on this call don't have access to your Moxie website yet. That's coming up, right? That's forthcoming. You're going to be communicated with. Our product marketing team is going to be speaking with your leadership team on the rollout of Moxie website. So you're going to get a ton of information very, very soon. Hopefully that helps. Thank you, Monica. Very informative. That's our plan, right? Is to make these better and better and more informative so that you can leverage these tools. Yes, Nettie, practice, practice, practice. And remember, this is the last note, right? Practice makes what? And hopefully you didn't say perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? So just wanted to share that with you. Everybody have a safe, practice makes progress. Very good. But I've been told, right? Perfect practice is better than practice, because you can practice shooting free throws the wrong way, right? And you're just going to continue doing the wrong thing. So everybody have a very safe rest of the day and a safe rest of the next couple of weeks until we see you in 2 weeks. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Debbie and Dean, our team. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you all.